your K-pop opinions are wrong. Or maybe they're right. I'll be the judge though. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and welcome to a video. Here we are. Now I probably, like most of you, get sucked into the Reddit story videos on TikTok, on YouTube, everywhere. I love watching people read out Am I the Asshole stories and then react to them. And I thought that we could do that today, although I'm gonna put a little bit of a twist on it and do K-pop specific stories. And they're not always Am I the Asshole stories, they're specifically like unpopular opinions that I will read out, react to, say if I agree with the opinion or not, and you can let me know down below what you think as well. As you can see, here is some of my K-pop. This is what I know. So let's get into it. I found a subreddit called r/Kpop unpopular opinions, and that is where we were gonna go for our opinions today. So the first story that I have here, or the first opinion that I have here, is one that I saw that kind of sparked this whole video here, because I thought it was kind of an interesting discussion. But it's K-pop isn't about the music anymore. As someone who's been into K-pop since 2017, much of the discussion around K-pop has completely shifted away from the music to everything else. Nowadays, K-pop is more about the idols, companies, brand ambassadorship, etc. than the music. Maybe it's because I'm on the wrong side of Twitter, but whenever artists release music nowadays, most of my feed isn't talking about the music and how it sounds or the lyrics, but everything else. People will talk about a song's choreography, where it charted, its achievements, but not about the song itself. What happened about the days when we talked about lyrics, the instrumentals, etc. There seems to be more hype around an idol getting a brand deal or attending a fashion event than an album they just released. One can argue that K-pop was never about the music, but I feel that that was never truly apparent until recent times. Interesting. These days, people can't say their opinion on a song without either being a stan or an anti. Those are in quotes, a stan or an anti. I may not like a song from this one artist, but it doesn't mean that I hate the group itself or their entire discography. When there is a discussion about the music, the reviews feel exaggeratedly positive or negative. In addition, people only seem to like or dislike a song because of the group who made it rather than the actual song, using it as a point of comparison. If you say a certain song isn't your cup of tea, it's seen as an attack on the group itself. People seemingly can't separate the art from the artist. I feel like my opinion might be unpopular since one can argue that the majority of people who are into K-pop are there for the music, and there remains the logic aspect that draws people to K-pop and keeps them invested in their favorite group. Now, I thought this one was super interesting because I, totally don't agree with this person, at all. In the sense of, has K-pop ever been about the music? Or just about the music? I've been a K-pop fan since 2008, so I've been around for most of K-pop's life. I keep hitting my light, but I've been around for most of K-pop's life, and, I don't think it's ever really been about the music, and I don't even really know, what that would mean. They're called K-pop idols, not K-pop singer-songwriters, or K-pop musicians. They're called K-pop idols because it's always been more than the music. Forever. Music is the thing that they present. They're here we are, here is the music, but it's always the music is a means to an end. Now, of course, like with any industry, you'll have some idols who are much more music focused, so that you can tell that's their thing, but that's why you also get a lot of artists or a lot of idols that aren't necessarily as into the music. They're using it, to be an actor and not even say that they hate it, but it's just maybe not as much of their thing, and that is fine because K-pop kind of encompasses the entire entertainment area. So it's never really been, in terms of the wide scope, it's never really been about the music. Now, I agree that people on Twitter, if you're I didn't really like that song, people will take that as you being an anti of the group or whatever, but that's kind of just Twitter, though. That's just been Twitter. And also, on the same note of Twitter, though, if the only people that you're seeing post about music or post about the artists are not posting about the music, then you're following the wrong people. Because there are plenty of people who talk about just the music in K-pop. And if you engage with those, then that is going to be what shows up more. But if you spend more time engaging with the people who are talking about all the other stuff, then that's what's going to see. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you want in the K-pop sphere and focus on that. If it's just the music, there are lots of people who are there just for the music. And then there are lots of people who are there above and beyond that. And again, it's Twitter. So you could say, I really like this group, and somebody could comment under it going, that means you hate this other group? Like, they're two different sentences, huh? But that's just Twitter. So yeah, I don't think K-pop has ever been about the music, particularly. Like, even again, back in 2008, when I was listening to SHINee, most of it. Like, SHINee was, obviously, they were doing music, they were releasing music, but that's why, like, variety shows existed, because they would go on variety shows. It was never, for SHINee, it was never just about the music. It was about the music to then lead to public appearances and variety shows and other things. There were acting opportunities, there were MC opportunities like that, and then brand and sponsorships. That's kind of what it's always been about, you know? And I think SHINee is a group who does really like the music, but it's not the only thing. Now, that part of it is just the industry, like you have to promote the music to be able to do the music, things like that. But if it was just about the music, there wouldn't be as much other stuff going on. So, like, that is just kind of the nature of the K-pop sphere. And again, there are lots of other musical genres that are much more about the music, but K-pop, I wouldn't say, is one of them. I also think that that's why there's so much parasociality in K-pop. Probably, I would say K-pop almost more than a lot of other genres of music. Like, K-pop's really honed in on, like, the parasocial relationships, because if you're an idol and you're really likable, you can then release anything, and people will follow you for that and will support you in that. So, like, the music is there, but the person is more important, which is why people get so attached to groups and get, like, mad if you say you don't like an album or whatever, because they're like, no, but I like the people in the group. And I think that there is actually a subsection of K-pop stans who might really, really like a group and not really listen to their music, because there's a whole, you can do that. You know, they can be K-pop idols, you can be like, I listen to the music kind of casually, but I really like the group. I have a couple groups that are like that, where I like watching their, like, variety content, but I don't really listen to their music. And, like, that is something you can do in K-pop, because it's not always about the music, it's about the people, it's about the, you know, kind of the flashy knit. It's about the real people and about the, like, flashy, woo, look at the outfits, sparkly, shiny, crow brain thing. But that's, like, why they can get us to buy all this sort of stuff, because we like the people. The music is, of course, a big part of it, because it has, I think for a lot of people, like, it has to be good, and I think it is good. A lot of it is good, but the people are what's going to make you buy all of this stuff. Not just the music itself. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys think about this. Leave it in the comments below. It seems like in this Reddit post, most of the people that voted on it said that they agree with the sentiment, which I think is really interesting. And then about half, it was about like 50% then disagree, and then there was a few unsures. But I think it's so interesting that that's what most people think of, because it's like, I do think that it is maybe a thing of, like, when you first get into K-pop, you're into it for the music, and then you kind of go past, because you don't know the group members as well, and then when you do start to learn about them, it becomes more about them and less about the music. Who knows? I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about that. Ooh, here is another one. So it's idols' weight being public information is weird. I feel like talking about weight regarding idols is very much commonplace in the fandom. Like, there's a trend on TikTok right now where idols are put side by side and compared on things regarding their visuals, and this includes their weights. Here is an example. There's an example that they link to here. The topic being so non-taboo is why I believe my opinion is unpopular. Overall, the trend makes my skin crawl. But the part that irks me the most is the discussion that these people's weights. Weight is something that has a lot of factors and changes in most people day to day. But in K-pop, it's pushed that you need to be below X weight no matter your height, and the weight being public information only worsens that. Plus, most people I know, no matter their physique or culture, aren't comfortable sharing that information with their friends. Why is this information anyone can simply Google about an idol and get a decent idea within a minute? It's creepy. It's all creepy. Now, this is one I agree with, absolutely. I think it's so bonkers that the idol's, like, weight is being publicized. Like, who cares? Like, why is that something that matters, like, at all? I do think that that's a common, like, celebrity thing, though. Like, I think that happens with kind of any celebrity. You can Google any celebrity's weight and something would come up, whether or not it's true or not. But it does seem weird that they, like, post it, because, again, yeah, who cares? Like, clearly they're all exceptionally, like, thin. You can just, like, see it, so who cares what the number is? I will say, obviously, I am not Korean. I am not, and I've never lived in Korea, so, like, I could be wrong, and I accept that that could be something that I'm wrong. leave that down below if this is totally, I'm just pulling this out of my butt right now. But from my like experience within like Korean culture, whether or not it's right or wrong or whatever, is that weight is talked about much more commonly there. Like, as in, maybe not like the number, but as in like, you know, you might show up to work one day and somebody go, oh, like you're looking a little fat today. And it's like, that's just kind of a comment that they would make. Not maliciously, that's just a comment, you know, or, to, you know, discussing weight in like that kind of sense. It seems to be much more commonplace than somewhere like North America where I live, where it's incredibly taboo and considered super rude to talk about someone's appearance almost at all, especially their weight. Like, you would never walk up to someone and go like, oh, you're looking kind of fat today, like, are you feeling okay? In North America, that would absolutely, like, that's just not a thing that would happen. So I do think it's a little bit of a different cultural difference. Not that I think the number should ever be publicized, because it shouldn't, but I do think that that is potentially where that kind of discrepancy comes from, because it's like incredibly taboo here, a little bit more of like a conversational thing that people say over there, and like, you know, maybe less offense is taken there also, but I don't know if that's true. That might be super not true, but that's kind of what I would see. So I could see that maybe being where, like, why they do that, but it doesn't really make sense why it's like part of the official, like, here's their profile, height, weight, like, what, why do we need to know that? Because, right, like this person said in here, it could change day to day, and like, I think, and I mean, again, I'm talking from super North American place here, but I would kind of rather the idol be healthy, whatever that means. Like, I want them to be able to keep up the rigorous, like, dancing and stuff that they do, being as, and feeling as good as they can. I don't really, and I don't care what that means in terms of, like, what they look like or anything. But again, and I do think that some of that is changing so slowly, but very slowly. But somebody like Jonghyun, oh, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Jonghyun? Ooh, that's good. Okay. This Jonghyun from Twice, I think she's a good example of, like, things, again, the most baby steps. Like, the little, like, we've made, like, 1 centimeter of progress here, but but quite a few years ago, like, she wouldn't have come back, kind of, you know? Because that wasn't the thing at all. So I do think it's slowly changing, and hopefully it does keep slowly changing toward maybe a space where, like, weight is not, like, you know, being super thin isn't, like, the complete commonplace. Again, it's also changing in male idols. It's changing now from being super thin to, like, muscle-y. So, you know, trends change and stuff, and so hopefully we get to maybe a point where things change a little more, but also, who knows? It might never happen, but I do agree that it's weird that the weights are publicized. So yeah, for that one too, let me know what you guys think. And then the last one that we'll do for this video is one that says, non-Korean fans calling idols and each other by Korean honorifics like Unni, Oppa, Nuna make me uncomfortable. Unpopular because many won't exactly see it as a huge issue and bring up freedom of speech and all. It's not problematic per se, but those terms are not slurs, but still, seeing non-Korean fans refer to idols and even each other with Korean honorifics is kind of embarrassing. Like, these people are trying to insert themselves into a culture they don't belong. Enjoying K-pop and K-dramas is one thing, trying to insert yourself into Korean culture when you have no ties is embarrassing. This person said they're from India and an army, but honestly, I get secondhand embarrassment whenever Desi K-pop fans refer to idols by these terms and worse, call each other by such titles. Desi K-popers are relatively more active on YouTube and Quora. I don't know what that is. I'm sure it's another social media platform. And I have several of them refer to me as Unni or Nuna. After a while, I gently remind them that we have our own honorific titles. And they said Didi, Gigi, and Chechi. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce those. I'm so sorry. It's more cringe because we have our own honorific system anyway already. Being a K-pop fan doesn't mean you can discard your culture for Korea. I kind of understand that many K-pop stans are really young, like below 18, and I've done plenty of cringe stuff when I was an adolescent too. So I try and not to mind. But as a 25-year-old Desi K-pop fan calling themselves Nuna, Unni, and referring to me as such, I do roll my eyes. I often wish non-Korean fans could just view K-pop as an entertainment and leave it at that. When they try to adopt the Korean culture, they become try to become honorary Koreans, it becomes cringe. Now this one I saw and I thought was a really interesting conversation because, like, I agree, but also, like, disagree, which doesn't make any sense. But I think, because I think that I guess it depends on how you're doing it. Because, I don't know, it's not as prevalent anymore, like, because cringe culture's dead or dying, or maybe I'm just not around, but, like, back in the early days of K-pop, again, in North America, I can only speak from North American perspective, but in early K-pop days in North America, it was, like, more niche than anime. And anime was already considered, like, you're a weirdo. And so K-pop was, like, a niche within a really weird niche. So it was there was kind of, the K-pop fans were very few and far between. And and there was definitely a lot of cringe compilations that were created from people who would post videos about K-pop online, because a lot of them, again, would kind of do what this person says and, like, use Korean honorific systems, you know, oppa saranghae and stuff. And, like, was it kind of cringy? Like, yes. And it was exceptionally cringy when people would go up to, like, random Asian people and do that. Like, that's weird. That's where the weird line is. Like, please don't do that. That's so weird. But I don't think that attempting to use a language that you're trying, especially if you're trying to learn the language, I don't think trying to use the language is a bad thing. Like, why, like, that, I think it scares people away from trying to learn the language, because they're like, well, I'm afraid of being cringy, because I don't want to be, like, the cringy foreigner, like, trying to learn Korean. I think there's a way to use the language and try to practice the language, even just a little bit, and not try to be honorary Koreans. Like, you can learn a language and not want to be that race or ethnicity or culture, right? So I think that's still kind of an issue in K-pop, where a lot of people, like, if you try and pronounce a Korean word or a Korean name and you're not Korean and you say it maybe a little bit wrong, or you're trying to practice speaking Korean and you haven't, and you're not pronouncing the words quite right, people will be like, that's so embarrassing, that's so cringy, you're trying to be Korean, what, you think you're Korean now? And it's like, are people not allowed to just learn the language? Like, yes, I got into learning Korean because of K-pop, but does that mean that I'm wrong in trying to learn the language? And even if I'm pronouncing stuff wrong, like, it honestly, even for me, like, it scares me away from trying to speak Korean at all to anybody, because I'm worried about being, like, cringy, which is stupid and weird, and not, like, I shouldn't worry about that at all, but, like, I do. And so, but it's stuff like this, again, there's a way to do it where you can, like, you're learning the language, or you just want to, like, you know, you're participating in kind of, like, the K-pop culture, not Korean culture, but, like, K-pop culture, whatever. And, you know, but if you're being weird with, like, random strangers, then it's a little bit weird. And I don't even think it's bad, like, calling K-pop idols, like, oppa or uni or whatever, if you're in a situation, like, again, there's a way to do it that isn't weird, you know. Again, if you're trying to speak a little bit of Korean and you throw in oppa and uni if you're doing a fan call and you throw it a little bit and you throw in an oppa and uni and you're trying to speak a little Korean, no big deal. So I don't necessarily, like, disagree with that person, but, like, I don't think it's a terrible thing to use the language, you know? And especially if you're mimicking, like, you're using the language because you've heard it in K-dramas and stuff, so mimicking the language I don't also think is not a bad thing. As long as you're not being weird with, like, if you're not being weird with, like, random people, and you're just, like, even just between friends, like, it's not that big of a deal. And right, like the person said, it's, like, not problematic, they're not slurs, and I think you should let people speak the language that they want in the way that they want, you know, and not, like, shame them out of ever learning, because that's not cool either. Like, if they want to speak the language and learn how to speak the language, then let them learn how to speak the language, you know? I don't think it's that cringe. And, like, we don't have to go back to the days of doing cringe compilations for K-pop fans. And again, there's a difference, I think, between, like, K-pop fans and, like, Korea boos. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going too intense with it, there's a line. You don't have to be that intense, but you can be, like, a normal person trying to speak some parts of a language that you like from TV shows that you've learned, right? You know what I mean? And I think, you know, that's my opinion on that. I would love to hear what you think down below on this one. But I think that we will end it with those three for this video here. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this kind of style a video. Do you have any unpopular opinions you would like me to talk about? If you do, you don't have to leave them down below, but even just say that you do have some, and maybe I can open up an Instagram poll for the next time that I do this video and get some of like your unpopular opinions to react to. That would be fun. But this was a great time. Had fun. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please consider subscribing down below. I upload twice a week, so you will see a lot of me this summer. I have many things happening. I'm going to K-Pop Con in Winnipeg at the end of June, as well as seeing Purple Kiss in Winnipeg, which I'm so excited about. I'm gonna film it. Oh, I'm so excited. And then I'm seeing Ace in July in Minneapolis, which I'm also very excited for. So I'm gonna have some like prep vlogs related to that, because I'm gonna make freebies for those concerts. It'll be great. There's lots of stuff coming. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in whatever my next video ends up being. Bye!